Mr. Steiner, thank you so much for being on our show. And I know it's your first visit to China in 5 years. You interact with many sectors, Department of China, and discussing quite diverse topics with them. So can you first share with us your outcomes or results of this visit to China so far?
The occasion was the China Council for International Cooperation and Environment Development, in which I also serve as a vice chair. And this China Council, to which I have contributed over 20 years now, is the premier forum where China engages with the international community on environment and development issues. And particularly now that China is beginning the preparations for its next 5-year plan, this is a very critical period to review policies on environment, sustainable development. And we had very fruitful discussions, including on the green transition that is happening in China now, the actions on climate change, but also mobility and other sectors. And then in Beijing, I met with a number of officials from different departments and ministries, because the United Nations Development Programme is a long-standing partner to China's national development. And in particular, in recent years, our focus has been on sustainable development. And so we together reviewed our programs, and I committed UNDP's support to the next phase of China's development also.
Finance is a very key issue to enable to make sure the SDG to be implemented. According to the 2024 Financing for Sustainable Development Report, there are still 4 trillion SDG financing gap. I know you soon will go to Shanghai to have regular meetings about finance. So how do you think UNDP and China can cooperate to together deal with these issues?
First of all, I think we have cooperated also in the past, and one of the success stories of China, one of the enablers, for example, in the massive investment in cleaner technology, was that China 10-15 years ago began to also advance the development of a green financial system and platform in China, working with the People's Bank of China, but also the individual banks, in creating the incentives, because if you don't have access to finance, you cannot invest in innovation, in cleaner technology. The bitter truth is that in our world today, we are richer as a global economy than ever before in human history, at least in monetary terms. But what is happening in our world is that wealth is very concentrated. So where there is plenty of money, it's not being invested where people need it. So one of our difficulties is that our financial system is not very effective at creating the incentives and transacting the finance to enable those who actually need to invest to have the money. In most countries, governments have limited financial resources. How do you create an investment environment? So again, we would love to work more with China in supporting many developing countries in modernizing their regulatory frameworks, de-risking the investment environment so that more capital is invested. Another area is, as I mentioned to you earlier, is China's ability also with its own economies of scale, i.e. the more you produce, the cheaper the cost of production per unit of a photovoltaic panel, a wind power turbine, an electric motorbike or car. These are enormous opportunities for poorer countries to now begin to switch to electric mobility or cleaner energy. UNDP has a program called Africa Mini-Grids. In 21 African countries, we are now helping to bring solar mini-grids to the point where investors can actually invest. And if the programs go well, we could connect 250 million African citizens to clean energy supplies over the next 5 to 6 years. Having China also as an investor, as a financier, would be extremely welcome, because that is the way that we help countries to advance. Without electricity, modernization and development are very difficult.